Ben Simmons over the past 4 years has had one of the worst contracts in the NBA, but before sitting out for a season and being traded to the Brooklyn Nets, Ben Simmons was once looked at as one of the best prospects in the NBA, where in 4 active seasons he won Rookie of the Year, while also being named an All-Star in 3 consecutive seasons. In this video, we're going to look back at the film to see what exactly made Simmons so effective on the court, and also go over why he was an all-star caliber player. Now, before his list of injuries and honestly completely losing his confidence, Simmons was an absolute nightmare to deal with in transition, where at 6'10", 240, and possessing ridiculous speed in the open court, Ben had the physical tools to simply overwhelm backpedaling defenders, commonly looking like a varsity player running with the JV squad after practice.
Being successful.
When charging downhill like this, Ben never really blew me away with his on-ball skill, and many of his finishes around the basket were pretty funky and unorthodox. But if you possess the build that Simmons does, you can get away with not having a super refined skill set. However, when playing downhill, I do think Ben was pretty good at using his strides to create finishing angles, where he could cover a ton of ground with these pickups and long Euro steps. I like this move here where Ben's again pushing the ball, and he's going to get the defense backpedaling by hitting these 2 inside-out dribbles, to then pick up into this left-right Euro step. This is an interesting move right here, where Ben's going to gather at the top of the key, to then shift the defense out of his frame by planting his left foot, to then push back to his right. And from here, he's got the control to sink this floating right-hand scoop shot. When looking back at this film, one of the first things that jumped out to me was how physical Ben played. Back in these days, Ben was commonly hunting contact around the basket by lowering his shoulder into the defense, to then absorb that bump and use his long strides to step into a finish. Notice on this play how Simmons is going to catch, and with no hesitation, he's going to take a dribble and drive right into his man's body, to then pick up and find the scoring window on the other side of the rim. And then pretty much all these tools carry over to Ben scoring in the half court, where again his combination of strength and quickness made him a really tough one-on-one matchup. And again, Simmons never really had the deepest bag in isolation, but he was very good at using momentum off the dribble by using the open space the defense gave him to load up and push himself into these drives. Notice how this defender here completely ignores Simmons on the perimeter, but Ben's going to simply attack into that open space and hit this nice spin move back towards the middle. In the half court, Ben also did some good work with his back to the basket. He never really had super flashy footwork or a deep bag of moves down low, but he did have the strength to physically overwhelm matchups, while also surprising the defense with these quick bursts. You'll see him here initially start this play backing down, to then turn and dust his man with this crossover. And then if the defense was able to wall Simmons off and keep him out of the deep paint, he also had pretty good touch with these jump hooks. And these looks may not be super high quality, but they were still shots that Ben always had in his back pocket. So in terms of his on-ball scoring, this was pretty much Ben's entire game. Obviously his physical talent made him really effective handling the ball on the break. He was elite at attacking into open space and gravity in the half court. Plus he also had the build to create some offense in the post. And then of course all that rim pressure opened up his passing, where the defense would commonly have to build a wall to keep him out of the deep paint, leading to these routine kickout passes. And Ben also had the same effect with the ball in transition, where again his scoring gravity pulled heavy defensive attention, opening up easy buckets for his teammates. Now when looking at Ben's play off the ball, this is where his limitations really get exposed. For the most part, Ben did his best work hovering around the dunker spot, where he could shift into open space for easy catch and finishes, or cut and snag lobs above the rim.
I think it encourages everyone else.
And Philly at times would also use Simmons as a screener, where he clearly had the talent to do some real damage rolling towards the basket. But because Ben wasn't a real outside shooting threat, he commonly affected Philly's spacing off the ball, because Ben on the perimeter was pretty much a non-factor, which led to the defense ignoring him and having an extra body in the paint. And obviously, with the way the game is being played today, it's really tough for a point guard to not be a real outside shooting threat. And that lack of perimeter scoring also limited Ben's creation on the ball, because the defense pretty much never threw aggressive coverages at him, which took away his ability to stretch and bend the defense. And this led to him calmly playing with the ball out in no man's land. So even when Ben was fully healthy and confident, he still had some real limitations offensively. And in his 3 All-Star seasons, his individual numbers were never really off the charts. But what really made Ben special was the impact he also had on the defensive end. During this time, he was one of the most versatile on-ball defenders across the league, where he had the foot speed to step out and guard shifty perimeter scorers, while also having the strength to wall off physical backdowns. And then on top of that, Ben also put that 7-foot wingspan to good use, being able to alter any shot in his airspace. Now, because Ben had so much size and length, he could afford to give quicker ball handlers a slight cushion off the bounce, where he could both sit back and easily head off drives, to then extend up and effect these pull-ups. And the thing is, contested jumpers off the dribble are pretty much always going to be a win for the defense, and Simmons had the perfect build to funnel the offense into these looks.
James tries a 3-pointer, that won't go.
And then if the offense was able to initially get past him on the perimeter, Ben had the mobility to recover and meet them at the rim. You'll see Kemba Walker here initially get this outside driving angle, and he's got all this open space in front of him to create a finishing angle. But Simmons still has no problem extending up and eliminating the shot. So as a one-on-one defender, Simmons checked pretty much all the boxes. Again, having the foot speed to check shifty point guards, the strength to match up with physical wings, plus the length to alter shots from pretty much every spot on the floor. And that versatility and effectiveness also carried over to Ben's defense off the ball, where Simmons' reach and speed naturally made him a monster gap defender, where he could jump out into passing lanes and shrink the floor to clog up the offensive space. Notice here how Ben has 1 foot in the paint clogging up the lane, and on this skip pass, all he needs is one big step to shoot out and contest the shot. Now on this play, Ben's going to slide down to clog up this driving line, to then effortlessly close out and meet his man on the catch. Now, one of the most underrated factors to Ben's defense was his screen navigation. Whether he was defending on or off the ball, Ben was elite at blowing up actions and staying attached to his man.
RJ Barrett drives down a lane, high off the glass, won't go.
We'll see his man here working off these staggered screens. And watch how Ben's going to first use his physicality to fight through and stay on his man's hip, to then blast around and get the steal from over the top. And most of the time, Simmons never got an actual steal, but he was always in his man's airspace on the catch, which again leads to more contested outside looks. So when looking back at Ben's game from a bird's eye view, I think he was one of the best two-way players in the NBA. While he did have some major limitations to his game offensively, I think you could make the case that he made up for it with his defense, where he was effective from literally every spot on the floor. Now, even if his mind stayed right and he was fully healthy, I still think his lack of outside shooting and limited on-ball creation would have kept him from truly being a franchise player. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments how good you think Ben Simmons was. The kid's here.